Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to all the students. How are you girls? We hope that you all are fine and you all are enjoying your studies. And today our botany class, and in today's class we are discussing about the chapter number 1, which is homeostasis. And you know what is homeostasis? Yes, good. Homeostasis means to stay the same, the regularity mechanism in which the internal system of the body maintained by the body as compared to its external system. Right now, there are the further three aspects of the homeostasis. First is the excretion, which we were discussing in the previous class. Second is the thermoregulation, and third one is the osmoregulation. Right now, today we are going to start our topic, which is thermoregulation. Now, thermoregulation is to maintain the temperature of the body within a range is called thermoregulation. There are two words, one is the thermos and other one is the regulation, right? Thermos means temperature or the heat, means high temperature condition, and the second one is the regulation, which means the maintenance of the internal body system. When the temperature is high, when the temperature become low, how the body maintain its internal system, right? Now, thermoregulation in plant, because we are going to study a botany subject, so in the botany we have to study about the plants. So the thermoregulation in the plants is our topic. The normal range of temperature in plant is 10 degrees centigrade to 35 degrees centigrade, right? 10 degree to 35 degrees centigrade. This is the favorable condition. This is the favorable temperature for the plant to grow, right? The adaptation of plant to low condition or high temperature are as follows. It means that when temperature become low, below the 10 degrees centigrade, or the temperature become high above the 35 degrees centigrade, how the plant cope up their अनफेवरेबल कंडीशन, राइट? क्योंकि अगर 10 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड हो जाएगा या इससे कम होगा, 35 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड होगा या मोर देन 35 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड होगा, तो दैट इज नॉट द फेवरेबल कंडीशन for the plant, right? So in the unfavorable condition, what have to do the plant ने क्या करना है? So there are some adaptations which were adopted by the plant, and plant have to adopt these conditions. When the temperature is changed in the body, the plant body is affected. Low temperature and the high temperature both have the great influence upon the metabolic process of the cells as well as on cell membrane, right? When temperature is low, it's mean at the very low temperature below the 10 degrees centigrade. Adaptation in plant to low and high temperature. Temperature play very important role in the plant life. Most of the physiological processes in the plants required an optimum temperature, extremely high and low temperature, right? Causes some morphological and anatomical adaptation in the plant, such as adaptation for the low temperature. When the temperature for the growth to the plant become low, below the 10 degrees centigrade, in plant low temperature effect, enzyme activities become affected, permeability of cell membrane, or it become crystalline, affect the cell transport, right? When plants living in the low temperature, plants have to following the adaptations, right? How many adaptations they have to plant, which have to adopted by the plants? So there are some adaptations. One is the alteration of the lipid composition in the cell membrane, right? In low temperature, the lipids of the cell membrane become crystalline, but plant convert saturated fatty acid into the unsaturated fatty acid, which prevent the crystal formation. How it is slow process, so plant is affected up to some extent, right? प्लांट एक्चुअली करता क्या है, प्लांट में एट वेरी लो टेम्परेचर फ्रीजिंग पॉइंट आ जाता है. एट द फ्रीजिंग पॉइंट प्लांट के अंदर जितने भी लिपिड्स होते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, वो फैटी एसिड कंपाउंड सैचुरेटेड से कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं इनटू अनसैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड, क्रिस्टलाइट फॉर्मेशन से प्रिवेंट करने के लिए. सेकेंड है इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट एडेप्टेशन का है, चेंज इन सॉल्यूट कंसंट्रेशन. प्लांट लिविंग इन कूल एरिया ब्रिंग द चेंजेस इन देयर सॉल्यूट कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ द सेल दैट प्रिवेंट आइस फॉर्मेशन इनसाइड द सेल. Third one is the short life cycle. Plant in such places. Which type of the places? Where the temperature is below the 10 degree centigrade. Plant's life cycle कैसी होती है? It become short, right? Such places have short life cycle of the plant. Fourth one is the bark protection. Such plants which are growing in the low temperature area have well developed bark for protection against the low temperature, right? So how many adaptations for the low temperature? There are 4 adaptations. You have to keep this thing in mind, that first one is the alteration of lipid composition in the cell membrane, right? Prevent the crystalline formation. क्रिस्टलाइन फॉर्मेशन को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए प्लांट क्या करता है, ऑल्टर कर देता है. कैसे? लिपिड कॉम्पोजिशन इन द सेल मेम्ब्रेन एंड फैटी एसिड कन्वर्टेड इनटू अनसैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड, राइट? सेकेंड इज द चेंज इन द सॉल्यूट कंसंट्रेशन. थर्ड वन इज द शॉर्ट लाइफ साइकिल एंड फोर्थ वन इज द बार्क प्रोटेक्शन, राइट? Now the adaptation for the high temperature. What will happen when plant cope up the high temperature, right? Because when the conditions are unfavorable for the growth of the plant, so in the unfavorable condition plant have to survive at a high temperature. They have to follow some adaptations. At high temperature, damage the cell by the denaturing its enzyme. Plant have the following adaptations for the high temperature. Number 1 is the transpiration. High temperature increases the transpiration rate because it make the plants cool. It seem to be like the urination in the human body, right? Or the sweating in the human body, right? Second one is the heat shock protein. Most plants produce special protein called the heat shock protein, which is also called the HSP. This protein protect the enzymes from the denaturing at high temperature, right? Third one is the large vacuole. Their vacuole is large to store the more water. They also have the water storage tissues in the stem, right? Because when the temperature is high, plant have to adopt some adaptations in their body. It like the desertic condition. In the deserts, plants have the large vacuole to store the large amount of water inside the vacuole. Because plants have to survive the high temperature as well as shortage of water. To minimize the shortage of water, plant have to survive in the high temperature as well as shortage of water. They have to store in the vacuole, right? The fourth condition is leaf modification. Some plants also modify into the spines to reduce the rate of transpiration. Why they reduce their leaf size? Because the reason is that because when the leaf size is large, means number of stomata are increases. So every stomata have to transpire the water when there is shortage of water as well. So plant adopted to reduce the size of their leaves. Right? Is that clear to all of you? That's good. Leaves are covered with a thick cuticle. Right? Why leaves covered with a thick cuticle? To close the stomata. Is this clear to all of you? Good. Stomata are sunken or mostly present on the cuticle. Right? So this is the leaf modification. When the number of stomata are maximum in the leaves, it means maximum rate of transpiration. Right? If the number of stomata are minimum, it means decreases the rate of transpiration, which is favorable during the high temperature, during the desertic condition. Is that clear to all of you? That's excellent. Now, what is heat gain? Plants get heat by two sources, internal source and the external source. Internal source, heat is produced by oxidation of the food material, such as breakdown of the glucose molecule, right, during the glycolysis. Is this clear to all of you? During the process of the glycolysis, when plants performing the respiration or the physiological activities, so plant produce more heat. Is this clear? When plant performing the glycolysis, so plant producing heat by the process of oxidation of the glucose molecule. Right? Now the next one is the external source. External source, body obtained heat. From where? Directly from the sun. Right? Second is by hot water absorption, by change in the environment. Is this clear to all of you? Now, heat loss. Plant body loss heat by the following ways. Number 1 is the radiation, number 2 is the convection, number 3 is the evaporation. Radiation, release of heat in the form of the rays. Convection, transfer of heat by the movement of air or liquid from the body of the plant surface. Third is the evaporation, loss of heat and water from the stomata, lenticels or the cuticle in the form of the gas or the water molecules or the vapors. Gases are the carbon dioxide or the oxygen, or in the form of the vapors or the water molecule, right? So hot or cold water, hot or cold gas, right? Now the need for maintaining the body temperature. All the plants or the human body or all the living organisms, all chemical reactions takes place at a specific temperature. Variation in the temperature distributed, variation in the temperature disturb the internal system of the body, right? Hormones in the plants feel plants hot and cold, whereas sensory nerve ending in skin feel us hot and cold, right? जो हमारी बॉडी में जो सेंसरी नर्व सिस्टम होते हैं जो स्किन के अंदर होते हैं, ये हमें कैसा फील करने को देते हैं? दे फील अस हॉट एंड कोल्ड. हमें गर्मी और सर्दी का एहसास होता है. बॉडी टेम्परेचर बिलो और अबव नॉर्मल इज डेंजरस. इट सीम टू बी लाइक, जब फीवर होता है दैट इज डेंजरस. जो बहुत ही बिलो टेम्परेचर होता है दैट इज ऑल्सो डेंजरस. सेम विद द प्लांट्स. क्लियर? नॉर्मल बॉडी टेम्परेचर इज मेंटेन बाय हीट प्रोडक्शन और द हीट लॉस. Body temperature is regulated by the following mechanism. because maintenance of the internal body system by the heat protection is very necessary. So there are the two conditions, overheating or the overcooling. Both are very necessary and both are very important, and they have to maintain the internal body system, internal body temperature, right? Overheating, rise in the body temperature than normal due to heat gain or excessive heat production is called the overheating. Is this clear? Vasodilation or winding or the dilation of the blood vessels by the hormone is called vasodilation. In this case, blood vessel increase in diameter. As a result, more blood flows to skin or loses heat by radiation. Sweating. Sweat glands become active and water is exerted out through the skin. About 70% heat is regulated by the process. Which process? By the sweating, right? Decrease urination. Overheating reduce the urination to prevent the dehydration, right? Decreases urination. क्या करता है? Dehydration से बचाता है, right? Conscious action. In summer we wear thin clothes and sitting in the shade to cool down our body. This is very necessary. It's very necessary because we are facing today's which are very peak summer days. So we have to conscious about this action, that we have to wear the thin clothes like the lawn and sitting in the shades to cool down our body. We have to take the plenty of the water, the sufficient amount of the water, that is about the 2 to 3 liter water. This clear? This is according to the human need of the water, right? What happened with the plant? At above 40 degrees centigrade, plant produce heat shock protein. Body of the plant increases rate of transpiration and cool the body, right? HSP किसमें help करता है? To cool the body. Now overcooling. Low body temperature than normal is called the overcooling. It is due to the more heat loss than produced by the body. Following mechanism regulate it. Vasoconstriction. Decrease in diameter of the blood vessel is called the vasoconstrictions. Less blood flow toward the skin to reduce the loss of heat. Reduce sweating. Winter sweating is also reduced to stop the preventing heat loss by evaporation. Increase the urination. Winter volume of urine increases to keep body temperature near to normal. Shivering, uncomfortable, rapid muscular contraction. Rapid muscular contraction in the body produce heat to regulate the cooling, right? Rubbing of hands, taking exercise, sitting in the sun, the hot places, hot drinking, eating hot food prevent us from the overcooling, right? What happened with the plants? Now in the plant body at freezing point, ice crystals are formed in the body of the plant cell, but the plant of the cold region change the composition of the solute of the cell, so ice crystals are not formed in the cytoplasm. They form in the cell wall. This condition is known as the freezing tolerance, right? ओवरकूलिंग कंडीशन में प्लांट क्या करते हैं? फ्रीजिंग टॉलरेंस बनाते हैं, और जब ओवरहीटिंग कंडीशन होती है प्लांट क्या करते हैं? एचएसपी बनाते हैं, ठीक है? एचएसपी कौन सी कंडीशन है? एचएसपी में हीट टॉलरेटिंग कंडीशन है, और ओवरकूलिंग में कौन सी कंडीशन होती है? फ्रीजिंग टॉलरेंस कंडीशन होती है. थैंक यू गर्ल्स. वी होप दैट यू ऑल understand with the today's lecture. Is there any question? So you must have to ask from me. Thank you so much for listening me. Thank you girls. फिनिश करते हैं विद होप्स हो कि आप लोगों को समझ में आया. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर लिसनिंग मी. इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन सो यू मस्ट हैव टू आस्क फ्रॉम मी. थैंक यू सो मच. बेस्ट ऑफ लक स्टूडेंट्स.